The morning light filtered through the gaps between Philadelphia's downtown buildings as Olivia Bennet hurried down Walnut Street, clutching her coffee. At 30, she had mastered the art of navigating the city's busy sidewalks while simultaneously checking emails on her phone. As the communications director for a local nonprofit that provided art therapy for children in underserved communities, her mind was constantly occupied with upcoming fundraisers and grant deadlines. Today, however, something different caught her attention. A sleek black Range Rover was parked near her favorite coffee shop, and a parking ticket fluttered under the windshield wiper. The vehicle wasn't unusual for this upscale part of the city, but what struck Olivia was the expression on the face of the parking enforcement officer who had just placed the ticket, a mixture of recognition and hesitation, as if he knew whose car it was, but had to do his job anyway. Olivia continued walking but found herself glancing back at the vehicle. There was something about the moment that nagged at her. She had always been the type of person who believed in small acts of kindness, a trait her mother had instilled in her before passing away 5 years ago. "Kindness costs nothing but means everything," her mother would say. Before she could overthink it, Olivia turned around and approached the car. She pulled out her notepad, the one she always carried for impromptu ideas, and began writing. "To whoever owns this beautiful car, I noticed you got a parking ticket, and I just wanted to say that whatever difficult day you might be having, it's just one moment in time. The universe has a way of balancing things out. Maybe this ticket is just making room for something wonderful to happen to you soon. Hope your day gets better. A fellow Philly optimist." She folded the note, tucked it securely under the windshield wiper next to the ticket, and continued on her way to work, thinking nothing more of it. What Olivia didn't know was that the Range Rover belonged to Ethan Hayes, a 38-year-old award-winning film director whose last 3 projects had been critically acclaimed. His most recent documentary about climate change had won him an Oscar, and his face had graced magazine covers across the country. But today, Ethan wasn't feeling like a success. He had returned to his hometown of Philadelphia to clear his head after a series of professional and personal setbacks. His latest film project had fallen apart when the main financial backer pulled out at the last minute. His long-term relationship with actress Camila Rodriguez had ended 2 months ago, with tabloids speculating wildly about the reasons. And just last week, his father had been diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's disease. Ethan had parked his car carelessly that morning, his mind too cluttered with worries to notice the parking restrictions. He had wandered into a nearby bookstore, losing himself among the shelves for longer than he'd intended. When he returned to his car and saw the parking ticket, he let out a resigned sigh. It wasn't about the money, that was the least of his concerns, but it felt like one more thing going wrong in a string of disappointments. Then he noticed the handwritten note tucked beside the ticket. Curious, he unfolded it and read the neat, flowing handwriting. Something about the simple, genuine kindness of the gesture caught him off guard. In his world of Hollywood pretense and strategic networking, authentic gestures of kindness from strangers were rare. Ethan read the note 3 times, each reading stirring something inside him that he hadn't felt in months. A genuine smile, a small spark of hope. He carefully folded the note and slipped it into his wallet before getting into his car. As he drove to his father's house in the suburbs, Ethan found himself wondering about the person who had written the note. There was no name, just "a fellow Philly optimist." The handwriting suggested it was likely a woman, but beyond that, he had no clues. Yet somehow, this anonymous note had been the first thing to break through the fog of his discouragement in weeks. Meanwhile, Olivia's day continued as usual. She led a meeting about an upcoming fundraiser, reviewed grant applications, and had lunch with her colleague and best friend, Maya. "You seem cheerful today," Maya commented as they ate their salads at a small cafe near their office. Olivia shrugged. "I did something nice for a stranger this morning. It's silly, but it made me feel good." "What did you do?" Maya asked, always supportive of Olivia's random acts of kindness. "Someone got a parking ticket, and I left them an encouraging note. Just a small thing." Maya smiled. "That's why everyone loves you, Liv. You notice people when they're having bad days." "Ah, I don't know about everyone loving me," Olivia laughed, thinking of her recently ended relationship with Daniel, who had claimed she was too idealistic before moving to Seattle for a job opportunity he couldn't refuse. "But I do believe in putting positivity out there." What neither Olivia nor Ethan realized was how that simple note would set in motion a chain of events that would bring their lives together in ways neither could have anticipated. That evening, as Ethan sat in his childhood bedroom that his father had preserved exactly as it had been when he left for film school, he found himself taking out the note again. The genuine sentiment contrasted sharply with the polished but often empty interactions he'd become accustomed to in Los Angeles. On impulse, he took a photo of the note and posted it to his Instagram account, which had over 2 million followers. The caption read, "To the kind stranger in Philadelphia who left this on my windshield today. Thank you. Your small act of kindness meant more than you know." Philly kindness. Fashu made my day. As Ethan set his phone aside and went downstairs to help his father prepare dinner, he had no idea that his post was already beginning to go viral, or that somewhere across the city. The woman who had written those words was completely unaware of the impact her small gesture had made. 3 days later, Olivia was seated at her desk, reviewing email responses for their upcoming fundraiser, when her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "OMG, is this you? Check Ethan Hayes' Instagram now." Confused, Olivia clicked on the link Maya had sent. She knew of Ethan Hayes, of course. His environmental documentaries aligned perfectly with the values of her nonprofit, and she had admired his work for years. But why would Maya think she had any connection to him? The Instagram post loaded, and Olivia's jaw dropped. There, photographed and shared with millions of followers, was her handwritten note. The post had over 300,000 likes and thousands of comments, many praising the anonymous writer for their kindness, and others sharing stories of how small acts of kindness had changed their own lives. "That's my handwriting," Olivia whispered to herself, stunned. She had never imagined that the recipient of her note would be someone famous, let alone that they would share it with the world. Her phone buzzed again with another message from Maya. "It is you, isn't it? Your handwriting is unmistakable. The whole city is talking about this." Before Olivia could respond, her office phone rang. It was the receptionist from downstairs. "Olivia, there's a reporter from the Philadelphia Inquirer here asking to speak with you. Something about a note?" News traveled fast in Philadelphia. Someone at work must have recognized her handwriting from the viral post and tipped off local media. Olivia's stomach fluttered with a mixture of surprise and anxiety. She had never sought attention for her random acts of kindness. That wasn't the point of doing them. "Tell them I'm in a meeting, please," she responded, needing time to process what was happening. Meanwhile, across the city, Ethan was sitting in a local radio studio. What had started as a simple appreciation post had exploded into something much bigger. Local media had picked up the story, charmed by the idea of a celebrity being touched by an anonymous kind gesture in his hometown. "So, Ethan, your post about this mystery note has gone viral," the radio host said. "Why do you think it resonated with so many people?" Ethan considered the question. "I think we're all hungry for authenticity. This wasn't someone trying to get something from me or trying to get my attention because of who I am. This person had no idea whose car it was. They just saw another human having a bad moment and reached out with kindness." "And you want to find this person?" "I do," Ethan admitted. "Not to make a big deal out of it, but to say thank you in person. Their words came at a moment when I really needed them." The host leaned forward. "Well, let's put the call out to our listeners. If you're the Philly optimist who left a note on a black Range Rover near Rittenhouse Square 3 days ago, Ethan Hayes wants to thank you. You can contact us here at the station." After the interview, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message from his assistant in Los Angeles. You've got offers for 3 morning shows wanting to interview you about this note situation. People are loving this story. Also, your agent called. Apparently, the studio is reconsidering their position on your new project. They've been seeing all the positive press." Ethan felt conflicted. He genuinely wanted to thank the note writer, but he hadn't expected the story to become such a media sensation. He worried that the authenticity of the moment would be lost in the spectacle. Still, he couldn't deny that the publicity was helping resurrect his stalled project. Back at her office, Olivia was wrestling with a decision. Part of her wanted to come forward. After all, she had nothing to hide, and it might be nice to meet Ethan Hayes and know that her small gesture had made a difference. But another part of her felt uncomfortable with the attention. The note hadn't been about her. It had been about brightening someone else's day. "You should do it," Maya urged over lunch. "Think about it. Meeting Ethan Hayes. Plus, this is bringing attention to acts of kindness. That's a good thing, right?" "I don't know," Olivia replied, stirring her soup absently. "It feels like it would change the meaning of what I did. I didn't do it for recognition." "I get that," Maya conceded. "But sometimes the universe puts people in our paths for a reason." That evening, as Olivia walked home to her apartment in the Fairmount neighborhood, she passed a newsstand with a local paper featuring the headline, "Director Ethan Hayes Searches for Mystery Note Writer." She bought a copy and read the article as she continued walking. According to the piece, Ethan had been going through a difficult time professionally and personally when he found the note. The article mentioned his father's recent diagnosis, which Olivia hadn't known about. It also quoted Ethan saying that the note had been a moment of genuine human connection in a time when I felt very alone. Reading those words, Olivia felt a tug at her heart. Her note had made a real difference to someone who was struggling, exactly what she had hoped for, even if she couldn't have imagined the recipient would be a famous director. By the time she reached her apartment, Olivia had made her decision. She would come forward, but on her own terms. She didn't want a media circus. She wanted the same authenticity that had inspired her to write the note in the first place. She sat down at her small desk by the window overlooking the street and composed an email to the contact address mentioned in the newspaper article. "Dear Mr. Hayes, I believe I'm the person who left the note on your car. I was walking to work and saw the parking ticket on your Range Rover. I had no idea who owned the car. I just thought someone might need a bit of encouragement. I've been surprised by how much attention this has received. To be honest, I'm a bit uncomfortable with it all. I didn't leave the note for recognition, just to spread a little kindness. If you'd like to meet briefly so I can verify that I'm indeed the note writer, I can describe exactly where the car was parked and what the note said. I'd be open to that, but I'd prefer to keep things low-key. Sincerely, Olivia Bennett." She attached a photo of her notepad showing her handwriting and hit send before she could change her mind. Across the city, in his father's home where he'd been staying, Ethan was having dinner when his phone chimed with the new email notification. As he read Olivia's message, he felt a sense of recognition. The tone of the email carried the same genuine quality as the note. He immediately wrote back, "Olivia, thank you for reaching out. Your email sounds exactly like the person I imagined wrote that note. Thoughtful and authentic. I completely understand your desire to keep things low-key, and I respect that. Would you be comfortable meeting for coffee tomorrow? I'll be at Green Street Coffee at 10 a.m. No media, no fanfare. Just a chance for me to say thank you in person. Ethan." When Olivia received his response, she felt a flutter of nervousness but also a sense of rightness. She replied with a simple, "I'll be there," and then tried to put the whole situation out of her mind as she prepared for bed. But sleep didn't come easily that night. She found herself wondering about the man behind the public persona, the one who had been touched by her small gesture of kindness. She wondered what it would be like to meet someone whose work she had admired from afar, someone whose life seemed so different from her own. Little did she know that Ethan was lying awake too, thinking about the woman whose simple note had somehow cut through his despair and reminded him that kindness still existed in unexpected places. The following morning, Green Street Coffee buzzed with its usual weekday activity. Baristas called out orders while the espresso machine hissed and steamed. Olivia arrived 10 minutes early, her stomach tight with nerves. She chose a small table near the back, away from the windows, hoping to avoid any attention. She wore her usual work attire, a simple blue dress with a cardigan and comfortable flats. She hadn't dressed up for the occasion, feeling that would somehow undermine the authenticity of their meeting. Still, she had taken extra care with her curly brown hair, which tended to have a mind of its own in Philadelphia's humidity. At precisely 10 a.m., the door opened, and Ethan Hayes walked in. In person, he looked different from his red carpet appearances, more approachable in jeans and a simple gray t-shirt, with a Philadelphia Phillies cap pulled low over his eyes. Despite the casual disguise, several patrons did double takes as he scanned the room. Olivia raised her hand slightly and their eyes met. Ethan smiled and made his way to her table. "Olivia?" he asked, extending his hand. She nodded, standing to shake his hand. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Hayes." "Please, call me Ethan," he said, sitting down across from her. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." There was a moment of awkward silence as they both adjusted to the reality of sitting across from each other. The circumstances of their meeting were unusual, to say the least. "Can I get you a coffee?" Ethan offered. "I already ordered, but thank you," Olivia replied, gesturing to her half-full cup. Ethan nodded and caught the eye of a barista, who quickly came over to take his order. Once the barista left, he turned his attention back to Olivia. "So, you're the Philly optimist," he said with a genuine smile. Olivia felt her cheeks warm slightly. "I guess I am. Though I had no idea my little note would cause such a stir." "Neither did I when I posted it," Ethan admitted. "But I think it struck a chord because it was so genuine. These days, most interactions feel calculated, especially in my industry." Their conversation was interrupted when the barista brought Ethan's coffee, along with a plate of pastries, on the house. Ethan thanked her politely but seemed uncomfortable with the special treatment. Once they were alone again, Ethan leaned forward. "I wanted to meet you to say thank you properly. Your note. It came at a time when I really needed it." "The article mentioned your father's diagnosis," Olivia said gently. "I'm sorry you're going through that." Ethan looked surprised. "You read the article?" "It was hard to miss," she replied with a small smile. "Your search for the mystery note writer made the local news." "Right," Ethan said, looking slightly embarrassed. "Things escalated quickly. I hope it hasn't been too overwhelming for you." "It's been unexpected," Olivia admitted. "I'm not usually one for the spotlight." "What made you write the note?" Ethan asked, genuinely curious. Olivia considered the question. "Honestly? I saw the ticket and thought about how sometimes small annoyances can feel huge when we're already having a tough day. My mom always taught me that kindness costs nothing but can mean everything." "Your mom sounds wise," Ethan said. "She was," Olivia replied, the past tense hanging in the air between them. Ethan nodded in understanding, not pushing for more. "Well, her wisdom clearly lives on through you." They fell into a surprisingly easy conversation after that. Olivia told him about her work at the nonprofit, and Ethan shared stories about his early filmmaking days, before fame complicated things. They discovered a shared love of classic films and Philadelphia's hidden gem restaurants. "I can't believe you know about Park," Ethan said, referring to a small French bistro. "That's my father's favorite place. I'm taking him there tonight, actually." "Their croque monsieur is amazing," Olivia responded. "I save up to go there for special occasions." Time slipped by unnoticed as they talked, their coffee cups long empty. It was only when Olivia glanced at her watch that she realized over an hour had passed. "I should get to work," she said reluctantly. "We have a big fundraiser coming up." Of course, Ethan said, but he seemed hesitant to end their meeting. This might sound strange, but would you want to continue our conversation sometime? Maybe dinner? Olivia hesitated. While she had enjoyed their conversation more than she'd expected, she was aware of the vast differences in their lives. I don't know if that's a good idea. Our worlds are pretty different. That's exactly why I'd like to talk more, Ethan countered. It's refreshing to have a conversation with someone who isn't interested in what I can do for them. Olivia considered this. How long are you in Philadelphia? A few more weeks, Ethan replied. I'm helping my dad adjust to his diagnosis, and honestly, I needed a break from LA. After a moment's thought, Olivia pulled out her business card and wrote her personal number on the back. If you're serious about just continuing our conversation, you can call me, but I understand if you get busy. Ethan took the card, looking at it with a smile. Olivia Bennett, Communications Director. This explains why your note was so well written. She laughed. I don't know about that. It was just from the heart. They walked out of the coffee shop together, and Ethan surprised her by asking, Which way are you headed? Toward City Hall, she replied. Mind if I walk with you? I'm headed that direction too. As they walked through the city streets, Olivia was acutely aware of the glances they received. A few people did double takes at the sight of Ethan Hayes, but he seemed skilled at avoiding direct eye contact with strangers, keeping the conversation flowing naturally. Do you miss LA? Olivia asked. Ethan considered the question. Parts of it. The energy, the creativity, but not the superficiality. Philadelphia has always felt more real to me. Is that why you made your home base here, even with your success? My dad is here, Ethan explained, and this city keeps me grounded. In LA, it's easy to start believing your own hype. When they reached the intersection where they needed to part ways, there was a moment of awkwardness. Thank you again for the note, Ethan said. And for meeting me today. It was nice to meet you too, Olivia replied sincerely. I hope things work out with your father. I'll call you, Ethan said, and something in his tone made Olivia believe he actually would. As she watched him walk away, disappearing into the crowd of pedestrians, Olivia felt a strange mix of emotions. The meeting had gone better than she'd expected. Ethan had been genuine, thoughtful, and surprisingly down-to-earth, but she also felt a sense of reality setting in. Their worlds were fundamentally different, their lives moving on separate tracks. The likelihood of their paths crossing again seemed slim, despite his promise to call. With a small sigh, Olivia turned and continued toward her office, ready to focus on the work that awaited her. Grant proposals that needed reviewing, press releases that needed editing, and a fundraiser that needed organizing. Real life, her life, was waiting. What she didn't realize was that Ethan had stopped and turned back, watching her walk away with a thoughtful expression, before continuing on his own path, her business card held carefully in his hand. 2 days passed without a call from Ethan, and Olivia told herself she wasn't disappointed. Their coffee meeting had been a nice story to tell, the kind of unusual encounter that made life interesting but wasn't meant to lead anywhere. She threw herself into preparations for the fundraiser, which was now just a week away. On the third day, as Olivia was leaving a meeting with potential donors, her phone rang with an unknown number. Her heart skipped a beat, but she composed herself before answering. Hello? Olivia? It's Ethan Hayes. His voice sounded different over the phone, deeper, slightly hesitant. Oh, hi, she replied, trying to sound casual as she stepped into a quiet corner of the hallway. I'm sorry it took me a few days to call. My father had some medical appointments, and things got hectic. No need to apologize, Olivia assured him. How is he doing? As well as can be expected. Actually, that's part of why I'm calling. He read about the note in the newspaper and insists on meeting the kind young lady who brightened his son's day. His words, not mine. Ethan chuckled. I was wondering if you might join us for dinner tonight. At Park, coincidentally. Olivia hesitated. Dinner with Ethan was one thing, but meeting his father felt more significant somehow. I don't want to intrude on your family time, she said carefully. You wouldn't be, Ethan assured her. To be honest, it would be nice to have someone else there. The conversations have been pretty heavy lately. Something in his tone, a vulnerability she hadn't heard before, made Olivia's resistance fade. All right, she agreed. What time? 7 o'clock? I can send a car. That's not necessary, Olivia interrupted gently. I can meet you there. After finalizing the details, Olivia ended the call and found Maya standing nearby with a curious expression. Was that who I think it was? Maya asked, her eyes wide. Olivia nodded, still processing the invitation herself. He wants me to have dinner with him and his father tonight. Liv, this is straight out of a movie, Maya exclaimed. The famous director and the kind-hearted non-profit worker. It's not like that, Olivia protested. His father wanted to meet me, that's all. Maya gave her a knowing look. Uh-huh. And you're going to where? Olivia hadn't even thought about that. I don't know. Something simple. Oh, no. Maya shook her head firmly. You're not wearing something simple to Park with Ethan Hayes. Come by my place after work. We'll find you something perfect. Later that evening, wearing a borrowed emerald green dress that Maya insisted brought out the gold flecks in her hazel eyes, Olivia arrived at Park. The maître d' led her to a table in a quiet corner where Ethan was already seated with an older gentleman who bore a striking resemblance to him. The same strong jawline and thoughtful eyes, though his hair was silver and his face mapped with the lines of a life well lived. Ethan stood as she approached, his eyes widening slightly as he took in her appearance. Olivia, you look lovely. Thank you, she replied, suddenly self-conscious under his gaze. This is my father, Thomas Hayes, Ethan introduced. Thomas stood, extending his hand with a warm smile. So you're the young lady with the kind heart. It's a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure is mine, Mr. Hayes, Olivia responded, immediately liking the older man's direct, genuine manner. Please call me Thomas, he insisted as they all sat down. Anyone who can make my son smile during what's been a rough patch deserves to be on a first-name basis. Dad, Ethan said with a hint of embarrassment, but his father waved him off. What? It's true. You've been moping around for weeks, and then this young lady leaves you a note, and suddenly you're posting on Instagram and doing radio interviews. Laui? Olivia couldn't help but laugh at Thomas's candor, and Ethan soon joined in, the tension breaking. The dinner that followed was one of the most enjoyable evenings Olivia had experienced in a long time. Thomas was a natural storyteller, regaling her with tales of Ethan's childhood, his first attempts at filmmaking with the family's camcorder, his determination to tell stories even when no one believed he could make a career of it. He was always observing things most people missed, Thomas said proudly. That's what makes him special as a filmmaker. Dad, I'm sure Olivia doesn't want to hear all this, Ethan interjected, but Olivia shook her head. Actually, I do, she said honestly. I've admired your documentaries for years. They've inspired some of our programs at the non-profit. This led to a discussion about Olivia's work, and she found herself describing their art therapy programs with growing animation as both Hayes men listened attentively. We believe that creative expression is healing, she explained. Many of these children have experienced trauma or difficult home situations, and art gives them a voice when words fail. That's powerful, Ethan said, his filmmaker's mind clearly connecting with the concept. Have you ever documented the impact of these programs? We have some basic videos for fundraising, but nothing professional, Olivia admitted. Our budget goes primarily to programming. A thoughtful look crossed Ethan's face, but before he could respond, Thomas changed the subject, asking Olivia about her family. The conversation flowed easily, covering everything from Philadelphia's changing neighborhoods to favorite films and books. Before Olivia knew it, 3 hours had passed, and the restaurant was beginning to empty. Thomas checked his watch and announced, "I think I'll head home. These medications make me tired earlier than I'd like." He turned to Olivia. "It was truly wonderful to meet you, my dear. I hope we'll see more of you." Ethan insisted on calling a car for his father, despite Thomas's protests that he could manage a taxi. After seeing Thomas safely into the car, Ethan returned to find Olivia standing outside the restaurant, looking up at the stars barely visible through the city lights. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said, joining her. "My father hasn't been that animated in weeks." "He's wonderful," Olivia replied sincerely. "You're lucky to have each other." Ethan nodded, his expression turning contemplative. "His diagnosis has been a wake-up call. I've been so focused on my career, always chasing the next project, that I've neglected what really matters." "It's not too late to change that," Olivia offered gently. "No, it's not," Ethan agreed, looking at her with an intensity that made her heart quicken. "Would you like to walk for a bit? It's a beautiful night." They strolled along Rittenhouse Square, the park glowing under vintage lampposts. Few people were around at this hour, giving them a rare moment of privacy. "I've been thinking about something," Ethan said after a comfortable silence. "Your nonprofit's work with art therapy. It's exactly the kind of story I'm drawn to. Real impact, real lives being changed." Olivia looked at him curiously. "What are you saying?" "I'd like to create a short documentary about your program," Ethan proposed. "Pro bono, something you could use for fundraising, awareness, whatever you need." Olivia stopped walking, stunned by the offer. "Ethan, that's incredibly generous, but you're worried I'm offering out of some sense of obligation because of the note," he finished for her. "I'm not. This is what I do, find stories that matter and help them reach a wider audience." Olivia considered his words. Such a documentary could transform their fundraising efforts, potentially helping hundreds more children. Yet she was cautious about mixing personal and professional boundaries. "I'd need to discuss it with our board," she said finally. "Of course," Ethan agreed. "Think about it, no pressure." They continued walking, and Olivia found herself opening up about her mother's influence on her life. How her mom's battle with cancer had inspired Olivia's commitment to making a difference in others' lives. "She taught me that we don't always get to choose what happens to us, but we always get to choose how we respond," Olivia explained. Her kindness never wavered, even in her final days. "She sounds remarkable," Ethan said. "Like mother, like daughter." The compliment warmed Olivia, and she found herself studying Ethan's profile in the lamplight. Despite his fame and success, there was a groundedness to him that she hadn't expected. When they reached the edge of the park, Ethan asked, "Can I see you again?" "Not about the documentary, just us, getting to know each other better." The question hung in the air between them, weighted with possibility. Olivia thought about all the reasons to say no, their different worlds, his eventual return to Los Angeles, the complications of dating someone in the public eye. But she also thought about the genuine connection she'd felt throughout the evening. A connection that had nothing to do with his celebrity status. "I'd like that," she answered honestly. Ethan's smile was worth any risk she might be taking. "Tomorrow? There's a jazz club in Northern Liberties I think you'd enjoy." "Tomorrow works," Olivia agreed, returning his smile. He insisted on walking her to her car, and when they reached it, there was a moment of hesitation. Then Ethan leaned in and kissed her cheek softly. "Good night, Olivia Bennett," he said. "Thank you for seeing past the parking ticket to the person having a bad day." "Good night, Ethan Hayes," she replied. "Thank you for turning my random act of kindness into something much more." As Olivia drove home, she realized that the note she had left on a stranger's windshield had somehow become the beginning of her own story. One she couldn't have imagined, but now couldn't wait to continue. Over the following weeks, Ethan remained in Philadelphia longer than he'd originally planned. The documentary project for Olivia's nonprofit took shape, bringing their professional and personal lives into a harmonious intersection. Ethan's passion for storytelling found new purpose in capturing the transformative power of art therapy, while Olivia's dedication to her cause gained a powerful new platform. Thomas Hayes became a regular presence in their lives, his initial diagnosis evolving into a manageable treatment plan that gave them all hope. His obvious approval of Olivia and joy at seeing his son happy again added another layer of warmth to their blossoming relationship. When Ethan eventually had to return to Los Angeles for meetings about his revived film project, the distance didn't diminish what they had built. Instead, it reinforced what they both now knew, that sometimes the kindest gestures come from the most unexpected places, and sometimes those gestures are just the beginning of a much bigger story. A simple note left on a windshield had connected two souls at exactly the moment they needed to find each other, proving that in a world of calculated interactions and digital connections, authentic kindness still had the power to change lives in ways no one could predict.